I know it hurts right now, but sometimes you have to take your medicine.
That's the worst analogy when like he's also slashing Medicare and stuff. It's like no one's going to be able to afford to take their medicine.
Take the medicine, says the guy who thinks we should take bleach and horse dewormer for fighting COVID. Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
And if you're checking us out in your podcast app this week, you might also notice that we have some new album art. We've been working on this for about a month, and it's inspired by our social media cover arts that you'll see on Facebook and YouTube and elsewhere. We decided it's time to put us in the album art. We hadn't done that. We also hadn't updated our album art in, I think it's been about 7-ish years or so. Mm-hmm. We also used to include the current president in the album art. That's not happening anymore.
No.
Though we did ask the person who, pre-election, we did ask the person who created the Joe Biden artwork for the now old album art if they could create a Kamala Harris piece. And luckily now she said no because she was busy with some other work. I'm glad we didn't get that because that would have just been a waste of money. And instead we put the money into this new album art. It looks good, right?
Yeah, I really, really like it. And there are lots of little fun Easter eggs in the album art as well. And what I loved about it was we kind of got to sit around and throw some ideas around of like what would be funny to include as little Easter eggs. So lots of fun stuff in there.
And it's fun that it's customizable, which is something that we haven't been able to do in the past. So if you keep an eye on it for a while, you'll notice that like the signage might change here and there.
Yes. So we have a dry erase board behind us and we have a protest sign, and we asked the designer to give us an editable version of this. So from time to time, we are going to update it. So we'll also be getting our patrons involved too, if they have any ideas for what to include on the protest sign or the dry erase board. Thank you to patrons for their support to help us create great stuff like this. This show is brought to you by listeners like you. And thank you to recent patrons, including Layla, Megan, Hannah, That Bat Lady, and Marley. Listeners, you can visit patreon.com/millennial to get instant access to bonus episodes of the show that we call After Dark, where we spill the tea that's too hot for a public podcast. And you'll also get access to ad-free episodes of the show, our live streams, a monthly shooting the shit phone call between the three of us, and a lot more. And by the way, when you become a pal, you'll be able to listen to all of our bonus audio content right within your favorite podcast app.
This week in After Dark, we're going to be talking about the viral TikTok sketch, The Group Chat. I don't know if you all here with me on the panel have seen this, but it's really taken TikTok by storm. I knew Laura would come through. And so, yeah, we're just going to be talking about that. And we're also going to be talking about why it's relatable. And it's going to kind of be a fun little extension of our ongoing friendship series as well. I think that the reason that this went really viral is because the scenario is really relatable. So it should be a fun discussion. You can visit patreon.com/millennial and get started today with a 7-day free trial to check out all of our bonus content, including After Dark. An annual subscription discount is also available over there.
By the way, a few weeks ago, I revealed, I think here in the main show, revealed like it was a deep, dark secret. I cannot use a can opener to save my life. And so one of our patrons, after the episode was released, said, you got to record yourself trying to open a can with a can opener. So I did, and I posted it on Patreon, and I was narrating all 3-4 painful minutes of my experience. And I effed it up once again, and you can watch that video. It's so funny to me. I post this video, it gets so many likes and comments.
The people want what the people want, man. What can I say? But I have to ask you, Pat knows how to operate a can opener, right?
He says he knows how to use it, but then the comments are so mixed in the video. It's like, oh, that one's just busted. Andrew, you're holding it wrong. Just get an electric can opener, you idiot.
I think you have it upside down.
You have it upside down. I don't know. I don't know. This really is a mystery to me.
Hard to tell without actually like being there with the can opener. But I guess at least we know how to buy you.
Come over, Pam. Use my can opener. We'll hold it together.
What a pickup line. All right. Well, this is our new mission. Next time we're all together, we need to go out and purchase a can opener and teach Andrew how to use it.
Yeah. How about we just teach me how to use my existing one? Because this is my second can opener because I broke the last one because I was using it so wrong.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's impressive.
Presumably when we get together in person, you're not going to have flown with your can opener from home.
Why not?
I just have a feeling TSA won't like that.
I should try, see what TSA
It's not really
thinks.
a weapon, is it? Well, it has a little blade. Maybe.
It's
Who knows?
that's metal, right? I mean, look, they're already flagging me for bringing a podcast mic on board,
That's
so
true,
I
that's
might as
true.
well bring the can opener too.
Right, they're already going to search you.
Yeah. They're like, that thing looks like a bomb. We need to pull him aside.
Isn't that what TSA pre-check is for? Use it for good. And by good, we mean flying with your can opener.
Well, if you're looking for other ways to support us / support Andrew's get out of jail fund, you can head on over to shop.millennialshow.com. That's where you can pick up official show gear, like our canceling since 2015 shirt, because millennials are known for being the generation that cancels literally everything, as well as our For the Show hoodie, which is so soft and so cozy comfy. And if you're like me, even though it's getting warmer in our part of the world, I keep my house at vampiric level temperatures. So I'll be able to wear it all summer long, no problem, while I'm inside. So definitely check out some of those. You can also tell a fellow millennial about the show and make sure you're following us in your favorite podcast app.
We've gotten a bunch of feedback recently, so we thought we should catch up on what our listeners, our pals, have been saying about recent episodes. Ashley wrote in on, apparently I've been unintentionally revealing where I live. Hello, my loves. Now, it may be my true crime brain, but I'm very concerned about Andrew potentially triangulating his location by mentioning he gets his haircut next door to the Planet Fitness he goes to, which he later in the show mentioned is also near a Costco, and the gym is 5 minutes away, he said. If someone wanted to do the legwork, they could find his general area via these details. I need Andrew not to be kidnapped, or I will have nothing to do on Wednesdays because the show will be Andrewless. Okay. I have to admit, this is a thought that crosses my mind when I start getting a little specific on the show. But we share our real lives here, so I need to share the details. That's like, I don't know, maybe I should get a gun just in case, but I think I'm going to continue sharing details about where I live. Or maybe I'll start skewing the details a little bit.
Yeah.
It could be more vague.
To be honest,
I think
to be
Laura and I
honest
are
with
way
you,
more vague on purpose.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes, Andrew, you do give very explicit detail, and I'm like, I probably wouldn't have shared that.
Do you think it's the lady thing? Like, we're just predisposed to be terrified that, like, some bed
we're going to be
intruder's gonna
murdered?
come in? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perhaps.
Well, why don't you two have my back? Why don't you pull me aside after the show and be like, hey, Andrew, Planet Fitness, 5 minutes away, Costco.
I don't think I ever clocked that you were this specific, but I'm also not a true crime junkie, so I don't know.
Andrew,
So the buck
I'll be on
stops
the
with you,
lookout
Laura.
moving forward. We can come up with a code word.
It'd be funny if I just start bleeping certain location details on air. So I went to beep after my 5-minute drive to beep.
Oh my God. Next week on Millennial, get ready with us as Andrew prepares to move.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll be more cautious going forward now.
Our next piece of feedback comes from Likey or Like. Not sure on the pronunciation. Please feel free to correct me if I got it wrong. They're writing in about audiobooks, and they say, I absolutely hate when book covers change on my Kindle, especially when the book becomes a film or series. Then suddenly a great book cover gets replaced by a film cast. So yeah, this was from our conversation a few weeks ago where we talked about how Amazon was making some changes to the way Kindle software works, specifically around being able to make changes to the audiobooks you've already purchased, but you don't actually own. So totally get that. Likey, I think you're not alone on this.
Kindle and these others should have a setting where you can just preserve the original cover. That would be really nice.
It's interesting that they don't let you do that, because even like Apple, with like you being able to customize your own contact photo, like you can still revert somebody's to whatever you had before they opted to like send it out to all their contacts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like the technology clearly exists. It's just that Kindle doesn't want you to have it, or Amazon doesn't want you to have it.
And nobody on earth has ever liked a movie tie-in cover. Even if you pick up the book after seeing the movie, nobody likes the movie tie-in covers.
I will go out of my way to buy a used version of the original cover.
100%. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Clinton wrote in about last week's fitness discussion, and they said, I enjoyed this week's conversation about what each host does to get up and moving. Personally, I do a 1 to 5 mile walk every morning. Walk in place videos, walk away the pounds. It's not basic walk, you get sweaty. LOL, I'm also on a GLP-1 that's helping me with my goals. I'm already down 130 pounds since July 2024, and I still have 170 to go. Good diet and cardio, no matter what kind, does the body good. I would like to hear what the hosts think of GLP-1 and the wonderful side effect of boosting weight loss. I'm not familiar enough with GLP-1 to have an opinion one way or the other. I don't know if you two are, but I know it's a hot button issue right now because it's so out there and it's more common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's for drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple of people who use Ozempic, and they personally really enjoy the benefits of the medicine. And apparently the benefits are not just weight loss. There are other benefits that are being found all the time, like improved cardiovascular outcomes, reductions in certain kinds of other inflammation-related diseases and disorders that can affect people who struggle with their weight. So I think there's still a lot that's being learned about these drugs. I don't personally have a strong opinion one way or the other on them, but everyone I know who uses them seems to be a big fan of them. But maybe at some point, if more information comes out on them, we can talk about it in greater detail.
I'm a big fan of Wegovy and Ozempic's catchy theme songs. Oh, Ozempic. And then Wegovy. and nice job, Clinton, on your weight loss.
Good job.
Yeah, congratulations.
These walk away the pounds videos sound pretty cool. I'd like to check those out and see what they're about. And he said, it's not a basic walk. You get sweaty. Yeah, I mean, I think a big misconception about walking is it's not really a physical workout. Yeah, it is. You sweat. I'm sweating. I'm in a hilly area, so that gets my heart rate up.
I was just going to say the elevation makes a big difference too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, like we talked about last week, there are all levels of movement that anyone can do, including from a seated position. Like there are lots of really great seated workouts. If you're not in a position or you just don't want to do something that has you up and moving around, there's just a whole lot that you can do. And any kind of movement is good for your body.
And remember, if you see somebody on a stair stepper, they're gay. I was thinking about that this week when I was on the stair stepper. I'm like, yep. Look at myself in the mirror. Yep. And yeah, everybody here's
what's
gay.
Funny? I was just in Florida visiting family, and my mom was there with me, and I told her about that, Andrew. And my mom was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, all right.
Yes, I'm on to something here. I'm going to make that into a TikTok. All right, April wrote in on our ChatGPT in real life discussion. April doesn't necessarily agree with how it cites sources. She says, the references ChatGPT provides are often completely made up. I'm a college professor, and this is one of the ways that I check if a writing assignment submission is AI generated or not. I check every reference cited. Turnitin.com is enabled on our assignment submission folders and will check for AI generated text, but it is not completely foolproof. It will give false positives or false negatives in its AI report. But if there's a reference cited that just doesn't exist, then I know that written assignment was AI generated. A few years ago, my biggest concern was students copying and pasting text, which was easy to catch. Now AI is a whole other cat and mouse game. Anyway, the point of this is always verify the references ChatGPT spits out.
100%.
And I've noticed in ChatGPT, which is bad news for you, April, maybe good news for your students, when it does cite sources, it has little links, and you can see at a glance what the sources are: Wikipedia, CNN, Associated Press, etc. So it's pretty easy, I feel, at a glance to make sure the sources are legit. I'd be very curious to see what these sources, these false sources are that April is mentioning.
Yeah, well, I think this is also a really important reminder to click into those links and actually look at the sources ChatGPT is bringing up, because we know it's not perfect and it may misconstrue a piece of information that you're asking for based on an article. And you may load up that article and see this article actually doesn't support what I'm trying to say at all. And maybe it has some SEO keywords in it that kind of flagged it to ChatGPT to bring up. So it could actually make you look like you're citing sources that argue against you and not for you. So definitely good to keep an eye out for that. But speaking of schools, we did get a confessional from a teacher on Trump's attacks on schools. They said, "I know you said we could use the confessional to talk about what it's like being a federal employee right now. I'm not a federal employee, but I am a college professor at a medium-sized private institution. We luckily are not yet, or we are not currently being targeted." I would say that's a yet thing. But it's been very scary to think that any day the federal government could just snap its fingers and decide that we can no longer teach any courses that mention race, class, or gender. All references to DEI are being scrapped from our websites. The possible threat to revoking federal funding and, more importantly, federal aid to our students has us all really worried. My institution will not survive if students can't get loans. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can assure you that things are looking pretty bleak over here. Add that to the fact that most of our students are cheating their way to their degrees using ChatGPT. Democracy was good while it lasted. That's very bleak. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it feels like to be a student or faculty and staff at a university right now, because for the most part, like I know we talked about Columbia University a couple of weeks ago, for the most part, students and faculty tend to be against the kind of things that a lot of these universities are caving to, but those decisions are being made by the administration. So it's really, really difficult to have someone making decisions that are impacting your day to day. I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you to everybody who wrote in. We love getting your feedback. We also received some listener feedback concerning the After Dark discussion that we had last week. I've been keeping it vague in the main show because I don't want any prying ears to get details. But we will get to that listener feedback in After Dark this week on our Patreon. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, then check in on the tariff situation that's causing a lot of chaos in America. We will be right back. So the big story of the last week has been Trump's Liberation Day, and he's liberating us from retirement, has been my big takeaway over the last few days. He announced all these tariffs on lots of countries, including ones that are just inhabited by penguins, and the financial market went into chaos, and everybody is not enjoying looking at their portfolios recently. Nope. It's been a crazy week, huh? And I kind of thought that Trump would roll this back by now because it's been so chaotic, but he hasn't yet.
No, he's really going all in on it. It's really funny because it's like, I don't know, it feels like the plot twist that everyone predicted and it's going exactly as we thought it was going to go. It's not just throwing our markets into chaos, it's throwing world markets into chaos. The other day, the European and the Asian markets had taken a steep downward turn. So we're just dragging everyone down with us. Feels very on brand for President Trump. But to really highlight how much has been affected here, investors have lost over $6 trillion. So when Andrew's alluding to don't look at your retirement account, that's why. Because I know I've looked at my retirement savings and I'm like, oh, cool. We're down a fucking good chunk. And I'm not happy about it. Even though I knew it was coming. Yeah. And there's not really anything I can do about it. I don't know. I think it's really frustrating as a generation because I think we spent a lot of time trying to get ahead and trying to play by the rules and use all of these systems that existed that our parents have been able to use and our grandparents have benefited from. And now we're watching it all fall apart. And that sucks, especially when you've been playing by the rules the entire time.
Yeah, which is funny because I think that the running joke has always been, well, none of this is going to actually benefit me. But you're right, it does sting to actually see the dismantling of a system that you always knew you were probably not going to benefit from. I also think it's, really ironic that a lot of people thought they put so much faith in the fact that, the stock market received a boost when Trump was elected. And a lot of people saw some nice growth in their retirement accounts based on the assets they had in there. Even people that, are not super rich saw a nice little boost. But I think that, if you were listening to what he was always saying he was going to do, which was implement these tariffs, that you kind of knew not to count on that being the case forever. But it is really interesting to see a lot of those people up in arms now because they didn't think that it was actually going to slide downward following like the nice little boost they got at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, and it's really funny now to see Senate Republicans, some of them, not the majority of them, but potentially enough of them to make a difference. You've got a handful of them defecting and supporting legislation that would allow the Senate to require approval on any further tariffs that Trump wants to pass. So even, inside they're realizing the call is coming from inside the House. At least some of them are. But it's like, none of this was a secret. We all knew this was coming. You all knew this was coming. This is exactly what he said he wanted to do. He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And on top of that, he's going on fucking Truth Social when the chorus of people concerned about what's happening gets loud enough that he has to respond to it. And he basically says, I know it hurts right now, but sometimes you have to take your medicine.
You have to take some medicine.
Fuck? That's the worst analogy when he's also slashing Medicare and stuff. It's like no one's going to be able to afford to take their medicine.
Take the medicine, Donald. says the guy who thinks we should take bleach and horse dewormer for fighting COVID. And on the tariff situation with GOP senators voting to block him from being able to put tariffs on other countries, it's actually kind of crazy hearing that story because we've kind of forgotten that Congress actually can rebuke him if they want to.
Yeah, if they decide to fucking grow a pair.
Yeah.
Right, that's how checks and balances work.
Right. But they never do check him.
It's not a novelty. No, I don't know why they're so scared of him. I mean,
because he's got so he will shitpost you. He will shitpost you.
Oh no!
Who hasn't he shitposted at this point?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
He can't fire senators yet.
He's a mobster. He intimidates. This is what he does.
That's true.
And it works. These people have no spines.
Meanwhile, in California, Gavin's like, "Hey, California's still open for trade. If you guys just want to do a little deal on this."
I love how Gavin's over here like, we're just going to treat California like it's its own country. Okay, thanks, bye.
Kind of is.
To be fair, he did go out and secure deals for the entire West Coast for supplies during COVID when Trump sent all that shit to Russia instead, all the protective gear. So it's not like he hasn't done it before, but it does kind of feel like this is he's really playing with fire this time. It'll be fine. I mean, Trump's not going to really retaliate on California anyway, because he knows that we feed too much into the economy. So it'll be fine. But
yeah, but really just to highlight how fucking insane this person is. So the markets actually began surging a little bit after some really big concerns from economists and institutions like JP Morgan, that thought that the fallout from the tariffs, at least initially, was going to be much, much worse than it was. Markets did begin surging today, the day we're recording this, but Trump kneecapped them by imposing an additional 84% tariff on China. So tariffs on China are now going to be at least 104%.
Woof.
Guys, basically everything we buy is made in China.
Have fun shopping on Temu and those other Shein now.
Even going back to like the comments that he was making the last time he was running, or his last term, he was saying, oh, China's a currency manipulator. It's like, well, yes, but we also can't afford to cut ties with China because we outsource so much to China. And here is the result of that. It's like, do we know that China likes to hoard American currency? Yes. Mm-hmm. Do they have the upper hand? Of course. But like, nobody actually wants to be in China's bad graces because we rely too much on the manufacturing, like you were saying. So
they also own a lot of our national debt.
That's what exactly.
And TikTok.
And they hoard it. Like it's a tactic. It's like an economic tactic. So
and those tariffs that Laura mentioned, these new tariffs are going to go into place tomorrow, Wednesday, April 9th.
So what you're saying is I should go put gas in my car today.
Gas in your car, buy your Chinese-made Make America Great Again hat now, because the price of all this is going to be going up again.
Let's party like it's 1929, y'all. That's all I have to say.
Make America Great. Recession again. Woo!
Well, I have to tell y'all, while we're talking about all of this, as I said, I was visiting family in Florida and love my family. I do. However, I was staying in a Fox News household. So I got to bear witness to how Fox was spinning all of this to their audience. And they actually weren't spinning it at all, because they really weren't talking about any of this at all. The only when tariffs came up, they would only point to things like saying everyone's wages are going to go up. We're going to bring American manufacturing jobs back, blah, 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 blah. But no evidence to support any of that, and no reporting on the immediate damage that is happening to our markets right now today. Instead, they were really focused on being really upset about Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse, being used in a couple of horror films. They feel like that is a representation of how, craven and corrupt and immoral and unchristian our society is now.
Yeah.
Because that's actually a problem. Also, Laura Ingraham was really upset about Michelle Obama's hair for some reason. Probably because she's a huge fucking racist.
Yeah. I was going to say, because she has it in braids now. Like,
oh, geez. No.
So, Laura, when I'm at Planet Fitness, they always have one of the TVs on Fox News, and there's one with CNN. And the two news channels are always on the TVs that are next to each other. So you just see how different the coverage is on a left-leaning network versus a right. And to your point, CNN will be blaring flashing red headlines, market crashes, everything's falling apart. Then Fox News is talking about Michelle Obama's latest hairdo. It's just like they just pretend none of this is happening. And people who are glued to these TV channels are living in an alternate reality.
And the funny thing was, too, Fox, like other networks, will oftentimes have the stock market ticker sort of at the bottom of the screen. They did not have that last week because they did not want to remind their viewers of what was happening. Instead, they wanted everybody to get in on the culture war with Laura Ingraham and the Five. And yes, unfortunately, I am way more familiar with Fox News programming now than I was a week ago.
I tend to be at the gym when the Five is airing. It is the worst show on the planet. They talk about the stupidest crap that truly does not matter. I cannot believe they talk about that. And what they lead with is wild.
Well, that's further proof that it's entertainment.
Exactly that. So yeah, that was fun. Andrew, what's happening with Nintendo in response to these tariffs?
So something that happened with Nintendo shocked me last week. So Nintendo did a big reveal for the upcoming Switch 2 console, which is going to be out this summer, and I'm very excited about it. But April 2nd, Nintendo does this big reveal for the Nintendo Switch 2, and they announced that pre-orders are going to be happening the following week. The next day, Trump has his big Liberation Day, where he announces all these new tariffs on countries around the world. April 4th, the day after Liberation Day, Nintendo says, you know what? Actually, we're not going to put the Switch 2 up for pre-order in America next week, and we don't know when we are going to do it now. And just today, they said it's not going to be available for pre-order in Canada. I was shocked they would pull back on the pre-order.
It's because they know we're going to have to eat the cost if we buy it.
Yes. So
and they don't, and people are not going to realize why it's more expensive unless they're paying attention to the news. Right.
So when they did do this big reveal last week, they announced it would cost $450, which very high compared to Switch 1. But we figured they were pushing up the price to account for the fact that tariffs were likely coming. Now they're not offering pre-orders. This thing's going to be like $600, $650 by the time it goes on sale here. And this is going to be a console for adults. I cannot see how parents are going to justify spending, let's say, $600 for Switch 2 for their kid. And by the way, the new Mario Kart that's coming for this system, which looks amazing, by the way, $80 for Mario Kart. $80 for Mario Kart. I'm speechless.
Yeah.
Am I going to buy it? Hell yeah, I am.
It's like a $30 increase, isn't it? Like usually a new game is like $50, $60.
Yeah, 60 is kind of the new going rate for a good video game.
That's a lot.
If Mario Kart's going to be $80, Grand Theft Auto 6, which is supposed to come out later this year, it's going to be like a $150 game.
Jeez.
Yeah, it gets so much worse than the price of eggs, y'all. Although I will say I have the satisfaction in the last week of having someone blanch at the fact that when we went out and bought eggs, and 12 a dozen eggs, and just like very regular like store brand eggs were like almost $6, which for that part of the country is high. So I was just like, guess that happened.
Also, just wanted to update everybody on the TikTok situation because we've touched on it a couple times in recent months. So Trump did end up giving the TikTok ban another 75-day extension. It was supposed to be banned this last weekend, but he granted the ban another extension. So I guess this is just what's going to keep happening. Every 75 days, he's going to offer another extension on the ban, an alleged temporary extension. By the way, of course, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company. China is not going to let TikTok go, and they're especially not going to let TikTok go if Trump is imposing these insane tariffs on them. So I don't know what's going to happen with TikTok, but Trump's just kind of like jumping through these legal loopholes to avoid it actually getting banned. And this doesn't seem like it's going to be resolved anytime soon.
And thankfully, people are rising up and speaking out. This past Saturday, on April 5th, there were hands-off protests across the country, and they even spread globally. I was reading about, but here in the States, there were, some pretty significant numbers. I would call out Washington, D.C. specifically, where 2.3 million people showed up to protest. The irony, of course, being that Donald Trump wasn't there because he was away at one of his various properties competing in his own golf tournament, which of course he won because he always seems to win the golf tournaments that his hotel chain hosts. Kind of sounds like Kim Jong-un,
and Putin.
Yeah.
Well, that's his dream, right? So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he aspires to be those men.
Why would anybody play in one of these tournaments if Trump just automatically wins? Like, it's so stupid. I guess you're not playing competitively if you know Trump's going to be automatically awarded the top prize. Because it's
another version of kissing the ring. You're kind of hoping that he gives you a leg up in some way or another.
And you get a picture with him and all that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Those protests were definitely inspiring to see. I mean, after you see election results after, 2016 or 2024, you feel pretty deflated. But then you see these record turnout numbers and it gives you some hope. It reminds you that there's good people out there, people on your side.
Yeah, Riley in the Discord just calling out there were over 1,300 protests across the states and DC on Saturday, with even more happening globally. what was really heartening to me was to see some of the red leaning locations that had pretty well attended protests as well, including Marietta, Georgia, which is, not where I am, but in the Atlanta, metro area has historically tended to lean more right. And they still had a couple thousand people turn out for that, which I thought was impressive. I wouldn't have normally expected to see that over there. And even down in Central Florida, which is like hardcore ruby red Trump country, there were some protests happening there too. I heard locals complaining about it. So
love that.
The people are turning out.
All right. Well, we are going to take one more break today. And when we come back, we're going to look at how people are saving money today in light of recent headlines. So we will be right back. In light of this worrying market situation and fears of a potential recession, people on Reddit were talking about how they are dealing with these fears in their everyday lives. So I thought we should do a temperature check with the people on the internet. This discussion was happening in the Millennials subreddit, so I thought it'd be good for today's episode. Patty Mayo said, "I literally don't eat out. I stay home 90% of the time and track every penny I spend." And then Dazman44 said, "This and roommates. I'll turn 40 this year, and I haven't lived alone since my mid-20s. I make all my meals. I'm extremely careful with my money. I have a budget I stick to religiously every month, constantly cutting costs whenever I can. I have an Excel spreadsheet where I keep track of every penny. It's the only way I've been able to save for retirement and travel, which is my passion." Question for you two. How do you budget track? Do you have any particular methods?
Spreadsheets.
Like a good old-fashioned Excel type doc?
I love a good spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm a nerd.
Who doesn't love a spreadsheet and some good formulas?
I kind of basically do the same thing, but I also just like, I've always been somebody that like just automatically sends money into a savings account and then puts what I like my budget, like spending budget into a checking account. So that kind of really helps. And, I make sure that like the checking account has everything in it for food budget and like any extra spending.
I actually do use a spreadsheet as well, but I've also been trying Rocket Money. So this is like a new version of Mint. Mint used to be free. It was awesome. Rocket Money does something similar where you connect all your accounts to it. You can put your car value in there, all types of things. And it basically gives you your overall net worth, and it can make recommendations for how you can cut back. The thing with it is that it's another subscription. You have to pay to track your money, which I find counterintuitive. Like you're saving money by spending money on Rocket Money. I don't know. It just...
Yeah. I mean, I know aren't they the ones that also offer to like cancel subscriptions for you? So I guess it might be worth it if people really just like also want like an easy way to do that. But
also look through your own bank account and be like, oh, I'm paying for Netflix. Let me stop paying for Netflix.
Honestly, that's the whole thing too. And like, maybe it's just because, like the way I grew up, but it's the same as like balancing a checkbook back in the olden days,
Yeah.
So like, cause you have to keep track of your money somehow.
Yeah.
So
I will say Rocket Money lets you decide how much you will pay for it each month. You can pay as little as $6. I think by default, it's like $9 or $10 a month, but I brought the slider down to $6 a month. So I that's not that bad. And it's a nice app. It works well.
Wait, can you always pay $6 a month forever, or will they eventually call you out on your shit and be like, no?
Hey, cheap ass, start paying. No, as far as I can tell, it's permanent.
Whoa, that's wild. I mean, I will say this, that's way cheaper than having a financial advisor. So, it's not that bad.
Yeah, that's true. Rocket Money is worth taking a look at. Jenna listening live says she uses You Need a Budget. I've heard good things about that one as well. Moving on here. Gabe says, I steal everything I can. Melting face emoji. I think Gabe is serious.
Probably.
Yeah. And just to be clear, Gabe is not a listener of this show.
You don't know that. Weren't we talking about, what was that called? You pretend something was stolen from your front porch.
Digital shoplifting.
Yeah. Maybe.
Gabe's a digital shoplifter.
Oh, my
Or
goodness.
Gabe is just a pseudonym for Andrew.
Whoa, now. Don't tell me you two aren't, you're walking in the Subway, you see an extra sandwich sitting there on the counter ready to be picked up by a mobile order customer, and you don't grab that sandwich with yours?
No, because
No.
that's someone else's sandwich.
It's Gabe's. He steals stuff all the time, so I'm going to steal his sandwich.
I don't know it's Gabe's. I don't know it's Gabe's, like, the stealer.
No, but I mean, what do I say on the show? It's a dog eat dog world out there. I am not for stealing from like mom and pop shops, but I have trouble drumming up sympathy for Target if I hear that Gabe took a freaking greeting card from them. Like,
Doesn't Target also, like, I don't know, maybe this is just me being too online, but doesn't Target just like let you go until you've stolen a certain amount?
Yeah,
Oh.
speaking
And then they come
as
after
someone,
you?
speaking as someone who worked there, or at least when I was working there, that was true. I don't know if that's true.
All
now.
right. Well, just be careful then, y'all. Don't steal from Target. They have cameras everywhere.
And also, I would just say it's important to remember to take advantage of all the free shit you can get, because if you know where to look, you can get a lot of free shit. A lot of places do free samples of stuff, and I don't know.
Like, go to Costco to eat.
Well, no, but you
it's
could
not-
also
it's
like
not
start
that.
extreme couponing too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a lot easier to do that now than it used to be. Like, you don't actually have to physically cut out all the coupons. There are apps that'll help you do that now. Even like Publix, like Club Publix, emails me weekly with coupons that I can just bring with me when I'm shopping. So there are lots of ways that you can, I think, ethically benefit from freebies.
Bitter Incident 167 said, most people I know have one or more of the following: family help, 2 or more income housing, like a spouse, a partner, or a roommate, credit card debt, generational wealth, or luck. So yeah.
Yeah, that's real.
Mm-hmm. Competitive Jello said, I just dumped all of my digital subscriptions and a number of trips for the year, rebudgeted to eat out only once a month and cook at home. Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah. And they also say but here's the good part. They also say they now have happy hour at my home with friends every other week. We all bring stuff to eat and drink. It's fun.
That's a really cute idea.
Oh, that is such a good idea.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I was
I
just
love
going to say
that.
that, like, I feel like so much of catching up with friends revolves around going out to eat, and it can get pricey. I budget that into my my monthly budget personally, but if I didn't, it would be really easy to overspend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I can't say I eat out less. We definitely cook at home throughout the week, and that helps a lot. I try to limit my eating out to the weekends as a way of managing the budget. But I think my biggest cost-cutting measure has been with coffee. I very rarely go out to purchase coffee anymore. And it just, I think about how much that is saving over the long term. And it's an admirable amount as Laura sips her Starbucks. Good timing.
I was like, wow, I'm being called out right now. No, it's fine. Yes, I paid way too much for that cup of coffee. It's fine.
Elysia said, scrimping and saving, I guess, finding little loopholes wherever I can and exploiting them as much as possible. So this kind of ties into what you were talking about earlier, Laura, with the free samples. Listen to this hack. Owen, Iowa chimed in. I formed a fake hemp company so I can order CBD at wholesale prices. Now, with THC coming online and there being so much supply, people are sending me free weed trying to earn my business. If anyone wants some cheap weed, let me know. So this person is pretending to be a THC hemp company, and then they get the free samples from the potential companies who can supply them. That's genius.
Yeah. And THCA is, it's really interesting. I kind of wonder, although they might be from Iowa, just based on their name, Owen, Iowa. So I was wondering about location, because some states, including my home state of Georgia, are starting to crack down on THCA, because I can only assume the state wants to go back to making money off busting people for weed. So
I thought this was a typo, but THCA is a real thing. What is?
Yes. So don't ask me how I know this, but the chemists keep finding new ways to slightly alter the molecular compounds found within THC so that they can circumvent state laws banning it. So THCA is one of those. Your state may ban THC, but if they don't ban THCA, that's the loophole they're getting in through. But a lot of states are starting to crack down. So I would just say, have that in mind.
Okay. Unapologetically True said, moved back home with my mom after completing my master's degree, also to take care of my dying dad who has since passed. But yeah, if you were to put me on the streets now, I'd be in my car. Happy that my mom and I have a close relationship and that she wants me to be home as much as I want to be home. She's paying for all my dental and eye care stuff as I don't have a job with benefits yet. Yeah, living with family can help a lot. Or even just living with a partner or a roommate. I mean, splitting utilities and all that just saves so much money over the long run. And like I mentioned earlier, y'all, look at these family plans and try to split those with friends. Like I'm splitting YouTube TV, I'm splitting Spotify with people who aren't even in my house. And that's saving a lot of money. Baby Pinto Jr. Lube, okay, gotta love Reddit, said never have a car payment, ever. Drive a beater or ride a bike / take the bus if you can't afford a car with cash. Lots of ways to save money, but people paying $700 a month for an effing car is insane. Plus insurance and gas. I ride my bike everywhere I can and drive my shitbox old Tacoma when I can't. Yes, I feel super poor every day dropping off my kid at school, but then I realize it's just my ego and some illogical sense of status.
Also, $700 a month for a car payment is absolutely insane.
That's outrageous.
Bad deal. My car payments have never been over $250.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're including insurance too. That could bump it up a little higher to get closer to, but I agree.
Still,
that is very high. Yeah.
That is a luxury vehicle. And you also probably didn't put a lot down. That's insane. This is somebody that went in and like didn't put a lot down, got a shitty interest rate.
Spends all their money on lube instead, apparently.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. This does sound like some poor planning, but I will endorse driving an older car that gets the job done over going for the luxury vehicle that you probably really don't need.
Yeah. Or go for a car that like Toyotas last forever.
Honda Civics too.
Yeah, same thing. Like buying used, like there's no shame in that. Never lease. That's a ripoff.
So I will say I don't necessarily agree with this take because some people do just need a car and maybe you're stuck with the one that you already have. So I think it's a bit silly to say this, but there are times I do fantasize about Pat and I just sharing one car, splitting insurance, splitting the car payment. That sounds really nice. Instantly save hundreds of dollars a month.
Well, I mean, also it depends on where you live because if the bus schedule like is non-existent, it might be impossible for you to get to work. Or if you get to work before like your bus schedule even starts, you have to get to work before that. Like when I used to work coffee, we had somebody I used to work with at the time, their car was old and it died, which like can happen. And because you have to get to the coffee shop early, it was like, this person was having to bum rides left and right whenever they had an opening shift because Ubers don't usually run that early in the suburbs. And the bus schedules also don't run that early. So it's tough.
Well, and if you live somewhere that just doesn't have great public transit, you don't really have a choice. Like we have MARTA in Atlanta, but it's not great. So a lot of people just prefer to drive. And if you need to do anything outside of the Atlanta perimeter, you have to drive.
Right.
There's no other way to do that.
I think that's the thing for me. Like in a perfect world, I would have no car in a city that I live in. Let's say Chicago, LA, San Francisco, and I'm taking the bus or train everywhere. Beautiful. But then there are quite a few number of times where I want to get out of the city. I want to go to the beach for a weekend, Disneyland, go to a national park. I ain't taking public transit out there. So sometimes you just need the car.
Yeah.
LSP 2005 said, I started a container garden. I am concerned about the quality of fresh vegetables. So far, we are already eating the lettuce. I am growing tomatoes, beans, Brussels sprouts, and raspberries.
This is my goal for the next few years. I would like to start like growing garden stuff. So not just flowers, like things I can actually eat.
My Costco is selling a chicken coop, by the way. Have you guys seen that at Costco yet?
No.
I'm like, what are you trying to say? You trying to tell us to stop buying the eggs at Costco and instead do the chicken coop?
Well, eggs are getting pricey at Costco, so.
Lou said, I am keeping my house with a 3.25% interest rate, even though it's small for us, and being smart with my money. Also, I am an elder millennial, 42, so I'm entering prime working years. We didn't start to make serious money until we were 38. Hang in there, younger millennials. An emotional ad 5714 said, this is it. I went from 42,000 to 170,000 over the past 20 years.
The sad part is that like 170 isn't even sustainable depending on where you live anymore.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah. Like when you look at what is considered on average middle class today, in the 90s, that would have been someone who was doing very well for themselves, even adjusted for inflation. Like, it's crazy.
I'll never forget. Like before we moved, so from my hometown, the last set of neighbors we had were renting because they couldn't afford to buy and they didn't want to move their kids out of the good school system. And she was a doctor and he was working in the financial district, in the city. And it was just crazy that like a 2-income household wasn't even able to make it in the Bay Area. Like
especially with those jobs.
Right. Like those are good paying jobs.
My big takeaway from these comments, though, is that it gets better. Like, yeah, you might be looking at your salary now and you might be thinking, oh, this isn't much compared to other people. But if you give it time, you will grow in your career and you will hopefully at one point be more financially comfortable. And I definitely get the first point too. Blue saying I'm in a small house, but the interest rate, I can't quit that. That's how I feel. I bought a house peak pandemic. I'm never leaving this place ever. Vegas could be burnt down because it's 150 degrees every day. And I'm still going to be in here with my little USB powered fan podcasting.
Andrew's going to be in a post-apocalyptic landscape, but still podcasting.
Living in a chicken coop in my backyard I bought from Costco 20 years prior.
To that point, though, also like moving somewhere more feasible. Like I have quite a bit of family that has moved to Oregon or to Vegas because it is cheaper to live outside of California. And it sucks that they have to, they're forced to leave, because my family has strong roots in this state. But
yeah,
that's another way to save money if you can swing it, if you're able to, uproot your life and get another job or take your job with you.
So I don't think I talk about this on the show much, but after I left LA and moved to Chicago, I wanted to get back out west because I wasn't liking Chicago, but I didn't want the California price tag again. So we did take a chance on Vegas and it felt very risky at the time. I did not know Vegas well. It was peak COVID. We're talking early summer 2020 that we made this decision. My dad was trying to talk me out of moving out here. Oh, there's going to be half-built homes out there. The economy's crashing. The world is ending. But I took the risk anyway. And it really did pay off. And now I could not be happier here. I love living in Vegas. I don't think I ever said that about a city I've lived in before. Like genuinely love where I live. And yeah, it sucks leaving a place that I mean, Pam, you have a special exception here. You're talking about your family, born and raised Californians, right? Like California.
Yeah, we're like 3 generations deep, you know, so
it's in your blood. Yeah.
Right.
So I get it's a hard decision, but I just also want to tell people that sometimes the risk can really pay off. And I would also say, don't believe everything that's said about the city. On paper, people hear Vegas and they're like, what? That's insane. What do you do? Just gamble all the time? It's like any other town outside of the strip.
And I've heard good things about the suburbs.
Yeah. Come visit.
Everybody I know that has moved there is happy there. One of my brothers lives there. I have some cousins that live out there. They've been really successful and they've raised families. And
has he been on
it's
Bumble
nice to
BFF yet? I don't have
my
run into
brother,
him.
my
Yeah,
baby
what's his
brother.
name? Yeah,
I
tell him
don't
to get
think
on
so.
Bumble.
Sebastian.
We'll
He's
link
a
up.
baby though. He's like 22.
Oh, he's outside of my Bumble filters then.
Yeah.
Let me extend them. So those were some of the answers on Reddit. A lot of people were talking about dual income, not having kids, living with someone else, stuff like that. We also did want to touch on bulk buying today because that can be one strategy if you're concerned about quickly rising prices. Personally, I think bulk buying works out for me because if you buy things that are non-perishable and it's only two people living in a home together, you can make that toilet paper last a really long time.
So our issue is that we're staying in our current place for a while because kind of like, who was it in the above discussion, Lou?
Yeah.
Who said that they're hanging in their, home because they've got the low interest rate locked in, but it's honestly too small. We've definitely outgrown this place. It's like 800 square feet and we have a lot of stuff. And it feels like even when we purge things, there's still not room for everything. So if we are going to buy in bulk, we have to be pretty strategic about it. Like if we want to get something that we don't normally have room for, we might have to forego something else. So what we usually do in bulk is like meat and fish that we're planning to freeze so that we can extend its life, coffee, and then like cleaning supplies, dishwasher, and washing machine, detergent pods, things like that.
Yeah, +1 to meat and fish, but that does take up room in the freezer. So you have to, like Laura said, be strategic about your space. Also coffee and any canned goods because those keep. So like anything that I know is going to get used. So like canned, like I'll do canned black beans a lot. So if those go on sale, I'll pick those up, or like the sparkling water because I know that those will get drunk, if not by me, then by people that come over or like on holidays and things like that. And then recently I have been doing grains as well, but only because I bought some airtight containers. So, and it is cheaper to buy things like rice in bulk, and that stuff doesn't go bad either. You just have to be smart about how you store it. Like you don't want to put that in the garage. I have a lot of extra space in the garage to store stuff, so that's nice. But you also just don't want to leave like a bag of grain out there for, critters to come and chew through because that would really suck.
Why do y'all have to bring up canned goods in the same episode? I'm talking about not being able to use a can opener. I would love to do that too, but I just I just
that's why you have Pat. He's supposed to be there to open the cans for you.
He asked me the other day, do you want me to open that for you? I said no.
That's so sweet.
I'm going to continue to not know how to use a can opener.
Because I saw your video, like if you're craving a can of chili, do you just have him open it for you before he goes to work?
I just stare at it blankly for an hour and then I give up and make mac and cheese instead.
Oh,
y'all should watch this video. It looks like I murdered the can. It looks like blood's pouring out of the can.
I watched not all of it, but like half of it.
Have you two noticed any companies, particularly smaller ones, reaching out in light of tariffs and potentially raising prices? Because I've heard a little bit about this.
Yeah, so I think Laura and I both have ordered from Snag Tights, and we've both recommended Snag Tights, and they've been really transparent about keeping their customers in the loop about U.S. tariffs specifically. So if you go to, they've sent out emails about this, but if you go to their Instagram right now, they have an entire post about the U.S. tariff update, which is going to be hitting them at 20%. And so basically this post is just talking about reminding people where their warehouse is and where their main factory is, which is Italy, and about like a couple of different options they're weighing out, one of which would be having to raise the prices for Americans, which they don't want to do. Another would be opening the UK stores to Americans if they're okay with paying the duties charge. So they're weighing out a couple different options, but I thought that it was a really smart move on their part as a smaller business to keep customers in the loop and be transparent about it, because it probably does go a long way instead of just staying silent and then having somebody that's always ordered from you go to your site and then suddenly see that, the price of something that they've had for a long time has gone up like $5 or something like that. So
I agree. That goes a long way. The transparency.
yeah,
Definitely. Especially because they make a really good product too.
yeah.
So the fact that they make a really good product that lasts forever. Literally, I bought 3 pairs of tights from them 2 years ago, and I have not needed to replace any of them. They have held up so well. They even send along like a link to a video that will show you how to patch your tights if you get a run in them so that you can make them last longer. Like they're a really good company, and I really appreciated what they did.
Yeah. Like I'll still buy from them if they have to raise their prices at this point.
It's not their fault.
Yeah. To Laura's point though, like the tights last so long that at this point, if I want anything new, it's usually because like I just want another pattern to add to my collection. So that's a testament to just the longevity of the product.
An old friend of mine who runs a small business actually went on Facebook over the weekend to talk about how she's going to be affected. So her main product that she sells, which is kava, is being slapped with a 32% tariff. And she was like, I have to decide whether it's even worth it for me to run this business with that kind of tariff. I think it goes to show how personally this affects people when you see people in real time from your real life who aren't just numbers or statistics on a news network, sharing how they're going to be affected by it. And it was funny because she's got a lot of Trumpers in her family, and they, for once, were not saying anything in the comments on her post. Usually they're spewing all of their, MAGA bullshit. But nobody had anything to say to this.
Listeners, please, if you have any feedback about today's episode, email millennialshow@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form on millennialshow.com. You can also leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube, or DM us on social. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. And like I said at the top of the show, we love getting your feedback. And if you do enjoy this independent podcast, we would appreciate a review in your favorite podcast app. Time for some recommendations.
I just wanted to remind everybody that Record Store Day is this Saturday, April 12th. So if you're into vinyl, you should go and support your local record stores IRL. I love going to Record Store Day every year, and it's worth it to check out their website too to see if your favorite artist is putting anything fun out that you might be able to pick up.
I want to recommend the new Hulu sitcom series, Mid-Century Modern. It's a gay sitcom series. It stars Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, Linda Lavin, and Nathan Lee Graham. Really funny, 25-minute episodes, classic sitcom format with a live studio audience set in Palm Springs. So I love that. Nathan Lane just kills it in this show. He is so good. I'm really enjoying it. So if you're looking for a good, like, brain off sitcom when you need a laugh, definitely check out Mid-Century Modern.
Another TV show recommendation here. The Last of Us Season 2 is premiering this Sunday, April 13th. So if you were a big fan of Last of Us Season 1, definitely check out the premiere. But also wanted to recommend checking out our Season 1 recap content over on What the Hype. So we have a Season 1 recap episode out both on our podcast feed, but also up on YouTube. And in the days ahead, before the premiere comes out, we're going to be putting out a spoiler-ridden theories and predictions episode of how we think they're going to adapt The Last of Us Part 2, the game, for the TV screen. So keep an eye out for that. We're having a ton of fun over at What the Hype.
All right, that does it for this week's episode. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.